everybody. Just want to talk you through where to make sure you've got all your P3 work, where to get the resources from, and a little bit about M1, M2 and D1, all right? I know Google Classroom is you're getting your head around it, but we try and put as much on here as we possibly can to help you. Please don't forget, if you can't remember any of the theory, you've got the business books there, and it's book 1. So underneath all the lesson materials, anything that you're not sure about, aims, mission, all the theory is there in our PowerPoints, okay? And obviously under assignment 1, which is what you're doing, you've got, make sure please that you go on to view instructions and upload any of the work that you're doing in preparation for printing out for your display. As long as we've got it on here and we can see it as well, we can mark that as well, okay, on there. You've got quite a lot of things for, you've got Amazon goals there, don't forget. You've got your links for let me just say while I'm there, Naomi House's organisational structures and all that extra information on Naomi House. Okay, so where we've got so your deadline for the P3 is the 20th. Over the half term, can you please have a look at doing this? And the deadline is the 6th of November. This is for the M1 and the M2 and the D1. And literally what it is, all the things that you've done, all the things about features of the business in your PowerPoint, the size, the scope, and all those things, and stakeholders, and then aims and objectives and functional areas. The M1, the M2 and the D1 are all expanding on those things. So you've got the basis as you pass, and then you expand on it. So if you see this, it's a template for you. So you all have a copy of that, okay? And you're going to just be using this, put headings in, make things bold. I tell you what I like to do, maybe different for other teachers, but if you're making a specific point or referring to something like size, scope, purpose, make those things bold. So when we're marking it, we can see that you've covered it. Okay, so when you're doing assess, try and think of positive things, advantages and disadvantages. That's a merit is about trying to look at both sides. So when you're assessing the relationship and communication with the stakeholders, I'll go over it in a bit more detail in a sec, but you're trying to see what's working well, what's not working so well. Okay, that's your merit. So that's the M1. The M2, when you come to it, you're going to type it all here. You can put appropriate headings in, that's absolutely fine for each section. And you're looking at structures, just like you're doing in the past P3 now, you're looking at the organisational structures. Well, how do those structures help them become, meet their aims and objectives? And then you've got the D1 down here. Evaluate, when you've got an evaluate on an assignment, and for some of your exams, what you're doing there, you're looking at the pros and the cons, the advantages and disadvantages, okay? But you're also looking at giving your own opinion. So evaluate means you're looking at both sides and then you're giving your opinion and any other research that's going to back that up, all right? So that was on assignment 1, task 3, individual report, and you'll find that there's a help sheet as well, which I just want to go through as well. So you've done the P1, P2, you're doing the P3 now, and then M1 and M2 and D1 is after. So cover all of the bullet points, please. If you cover all the bullet points, you're going to get ticks and you're going to get the work. You're going to get that straight away without having to have a resub. So here we are, have clear heading, include a contents page, have a bibliography. So just make sure that's all your sort of guidance there. Here we go. So that's the official heading, and these are the bits that you've got to cover. So can you see that on there? Yeah, so for each stakeholder mentioned in P2, so you can look at your PowerPoint that you did, have a look at the stakeholders that you mentioned. What we want to know is how do the business communicate with them? So choose some different methods. It might be email, it might be video conferencing, it might be telephone call, it might be meeting. So choose, normally we say the rule of 3. So try and get at least 3 methods of communication for each business and try and make them different for both businesses, all right? There are some other resources that give you some examples of different communication. The book has definitely got loads of different examples of different types of communication. And then you're going to be telling us, you know, what's good about those communication methods, what are the limitations. So with an email, for example, you can't see and telephone call, you can't see somebody's facial expressions, so you don't know how they're reacting to things. But on the positive side, a telephone call and an email are quite quick to get through to somebody normally, and emails are free. Yeah. So B is the relationship. So if I am on a chat communication with Amazon or Tesco's, I can say my problems and the customer service person can help me out. I'm getting a quick and efficient service. But in terms of a relationship, I'm not really building a relationship with them. It's not a way to get a rapport. They might sort of be friendly and you might be friendly back, but it's not like having a one-to-one meeting with somebody where you can see their emotions, you can see their expressions, you can give some more time on a personal level. So that's what you're doing with, that's what that means. So how do you rate those communications in terms of how does it help with building a relationship with each stakeholder? So a telephone call to a supplier, for example, if you're using that supplier all the time, you can actually get a good rapport with your suppliers. You get to know them, and you can negotiate good deals if you're speaking to them all the time. So you can build a relationship with people like your suppliers. This is important. You might have done a bit of this in the past, but you can add it here about how they influence. But you're doing positive and negative. Make sure you've put in. So a managing director, for example, can influence the business positively by setting clear objectives, having good aims and having that mission statement, communicating jobs to the team. But they can impact the business negatively if they are in the news for doing something bad, not doing their finances properly or paying their taxes properly. So that can affect the business, okay? And you can just sort of link in with that, how it helps the business to become successful. So if a managing director does do all the procedures correctly, that's going to help the business grow. It's going to, if they're communicating their objectives, they're going to help their employees know what jobs they've got to do, yeah? And that helps with reaching the business goals. All right, so that's M1. M2, now the features, let me just to remind you, the features, somewhere, wait a minute, sorry, I think we put them down here. Oh yeah, the business features, the 1 to 6, this is what you did in your PowerPoint. Okay, so we've just reminded you what those are. So whenever it says the features of the business, that's what we're talking about, okay? So identify the features of the business's structure that allow the business to achieve its aims and objectives. Oops. Oh no, that wasn't that bit. Scrap that, don't pause.